and it will look at all these 5 dimensions that I mentioned, and you'll rate your own self in all these dimensions of where you are, how strong you are in a certain sector, where you're in the middle maybe, where you're okay, and areas where you need to develop yourself. So this will really give you a 360 view of who you are in terms of your emotional intelligence makeup and the breakdown. Okay, so there are around 50 questions. I want you to go through them. If you don't understand some of the terminology, there's a couple of idioms and a few words that may not necessarily be clear. So maybe we want to just spend a couple of minutes just going through the questionnaire, just to see if there are any things that may not be obvious. There are a number of idioms, this comes from the English language. Let me pick one. Number 7, Wasim. Maybe some of the guys who are not native English may not have heard this, or may have, but I want just to, Wasim, can you give us an explanation of number 7? It says, I do not wear my heart on my sleeve.
It's not being so sensitive.
He's good. What was his name? Muhammad, good. Well, what that means, and I only recently came across this idiom because I still lecture some English here and there. Your sleeve obviously is something very close to you and very visual, So when you wear your heart on your sleeve, meaning you're very open about your emotions. You don't hide your emotions, you display them kind of with everybody, wherever you go, whenever you go. You're not shy to let your emotions be known. There are other people on the opposite tangent who are very shy. You may never see them shed a tear in public because they feel it's shame. So that's what this means. What you need to do, listen, let me explain in terms of the questionnaire, you have 50 questions as I mentioned, okay? And then we have a rating. Yes?
This one, 2, 4 not there, no? 1, 3, 5, it's there.
Sorry?
There is assess and score questions are 1, 3, 5.
How about one?
On the first page.
Okay. No. Okay, let me explain.
4 is not there.
It's there. It's there and it's not there. Let me explain. So like I said, 50 questions, description of the question, it says, I realize immediately when I lose my temper, okay? That's when you get angry. And you have to rate yourself from 1 to 5. Meaning, number 1, it doesn't apply. That means you don't realize your anger. You become angry and you didn't even realize, you just carried on. Yeah? Applies half the time. So in 1 week, if you're getting angry with people 3, 4, 5 times, a couple of the times you realize that you actually got angry. Other times you were so busy in this discussion, you didn't even realize you actually got angry and you upset the other person. It's not obvious to yourself. And always applies means whenever when you become angry, okay, you realize straight away, oh, I've raised my voice, I've become angry at my child, at my wife, at my husband, and you stop and you apologize or whatever you do. That's what the scaling is going. So the 2, for the sister said 2 and the 4 is kind of in between. Yeah, the 1 is the extreme where you don't realize it at all. And number 5 is when you deal with it perfectly. For example, let's take one example. Okay, number 5, Wasim. Number 5. I'm an excellent listener. Okay? So if you're a really, really poor listener, you just love to talk, which unfortunately is with some Muslims and Arabs generally, they love to talk, and they're very poor listeners. Not everybody, but some Arabs have this trait. Okay, so that means I am an excellent listener does not apply. So that if you're a very poor listener, you're number 1 or 2. If you're a good listener, on the other hand, you're able to listen to people and you give them time, you will score 4 or 5. Does that make sense? Willie? Does that make sense? Okay. What I said was, it says number 5, for example. I am an excellent listener, right? If you're a very poor listener, you just love to talk and you don't really give people a chance, you're going to rate yourself 1 or 2.
Yes.
There's no, remember this is to reflect on your own self. If you're a really, really good listener, like a lot of the women, a lot of the sisters tend to be better listeners than the men. They will rate themselves 4 and 5. Yeah, so that's how we should be scoring ourselves. Sisters, any questions on that?
Thank you, no questions.
Okay, so that's what we're going to do. If we spend the next 15-20 minutes going through all the 50 questions, and remember it's about yourself, it's who you are, and so there's no right and wrong answers, but it's how you view yourself. And then this is really what we want to do is, like I said, you will rate yourself in all the 5 dimensions, and then you will see where your strengths are, and most of the time, inshallah, it will reflect who you are, because this assessment has been done for many, many years. They're fairly accurate, representative of who we are. Okay, so go ahead, let's spend the next 15 minutes doing the assessment, inshallah. If you have any questions to explain any of the sentences, just ask.
Question 28.
Yes.
I believe you should do the difficult things first. It means you in the sense the other person here,
No,
or ourselves.
ourselves.
So,
Yeah, I
because
believe
it,
you.
I thought it should come. I should.
No, it's not. This is a mushkila because procrastinating comes from that. The difficult stuff we keep,
Yeah.
most of us, you keep it to the end. You avoid.
Be very careful to avoid someone indirectly when someone asks you something.
Yes, indirectly, yes.
For example, the interview you don't want to.
Yeah, you don't ask directly.
Don't answer
You
directly.
don't answer directly, so you go around.
Beat around the
Yeah.
bush. Beat around the bush.
Beat around the bush is a good phrase for us. Provocate. Where is that one? What question is that one? 23. Sah, I do not. Yeah.
Yeah.
People who are direct. So this one it says you're a direct person more so. There was a question from the brothers, sisters maybe as well. 23. Prevaricate here is when you don't answer something directly. If someone, let's say, asks you a question and it's sensitive, you don't answer it directly, you kind of give a side answer. So this question says, I do not. So that means you are quite direct. You're direct when you're giving feedback or when you're answering a question. Finished answering the questions, you have page 4 is your recording and how to interpret your results. Okay? Basically, you take the question number that you answered and you take your score and you put it in there. And each section there is a total. Self-awareness, managing emotions, motivating oneself, empathy, social skills. Then you will see where you stand. If it's a strength for you, if it's an area where you need to give a little bit more attention, or a major area of development, okay? So another 5 more minutes and then we'll go through and make some discussion, inshallah. think most of the brothers have completed their questionnaire.
We're finished.
Okay, and have you done the ratings?
They're just about finished. Maybe just 2 minutes.
Okay, good. All right, while you're doing that, we'll take some feedback from the brothers here.
Yeah. Go ahead. Okay.
Yeah. I don't necessarily need to know your score, but I want to see. Don't want to embarrass you.
Actually, my score was a score. I think based on these 2 surveys we've taken, we've been consistent.
MashaAllah, good.
And I think that, which indicates that these are reliable, a little bit of reliability.
Yeah, like I said, these are
Validity and reliability.
no, they're valid and reliable. They have been done. They've been crafted by the psychologists, and they've been tested on number. Like I said, I myself have conducted this type of assessment around the world. I've been to Palestine, Kurdistan, Jordan, conducting this type of leadership seminars with different sets of people with different backgrounds, etc. Yes, Brother Abdullah, go ahead.
And I think that from an Islamic perspective, our iman increases, decreases, our day-to-day, this may affect our answers as well. Because we go through emotional states as well, depending on the situation. And I think, I'm sorry,
You're good, huh? It's a good reflection. Okay, so where do you think, which one, development-wise? That's the hot question, huh?
My lowest score says that I was in the strength area and it was a 38.
Highest? Lowest?
The lowest was a 38, my highest
MashaAllah.
was 44. And I try to be as honest as myself.
Good. So where is the 38 coming out? Which?
Social skill, I would think that my social skills were higher than, but the social skills, different.
Yeah, but look, I think that's it's a very good one. It takes people years, to deal with different people and actually convey message and convert them to your opinion. Yeah, so that definitely is an area where all of us can improve, huh? And the better you are on that one, I think of course we understand that for people to come to Islam, ultimately it's Allah, right? But you and I can draw them in.
But there's like on the answers, there's ones, and I'm gonna tell you, it says, actually being honest, I can understand if I'm being unreasonable. I am very seldom unreasonable. So I answered 1. I really, I honestly don't. And I don't think I'm unreasonable with people. And so I answered, look, and I think that kind of penalized me.
Oh, right.
And then there was another, I can understand why my actions sometimes offend others. That's again, I don't even know, maybe I could inadvertently offend someone, but intentionally offending someone, so I answered low on that, so that can affect the social score. But other than that, everything's fine. I try to be as honest as possible with everybody else too. Here's Mike.
Yeah, this guy. Muhammad, what's his name? Yeah. Ahmed. Sheikh Ahmed. Come on, man. Let's hear.
Yeah, it was pretty accurate. This questionnaire was pretty accurate from what I see. My self-awareness was the highest. And,
Okay.
Managing emotions was sadly the lowest, but we need some time to work on that. And overall, yeah, it was pretty. I was pretty surprised.
I think I think what Brother Abdullah and what you just said, it makes sense. You said you're managing emotions, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is, I think, now very important, now related to your iman and your understanding, huh? Because remember, if a calamity happens, huh, and you get upset, right? If you're in a state of a little bit of a lower iman, you're going to get more upset. Huh? But if your iman is at a stronger level, you're going to deal with that because you think, well, khalas, this is qadr from Allah. Right? You're more resilient. So this is why I think what it's important, these type of studies, and what I'm currently working on actually, you know what I've been doing kind of for many years is looking almost, because many of my studies in leadership is from Western perspective, first and foremost. Then I've been mapping Islamic on top, which unfortunately we've been doing this for years, because the Muslims have been very poor in codifying. We have this, right? So now we've gone, for example, with the Haram, I'm working on a program for the youngsters on leadership and emotional intelligence, but we're starting from an Islamic premise. Now we're going to start with the foundation on Islamic. So the first level is you build your relationship with yourself, how you deal with your emotions. Second level, your spirituality, how you deal with Allah, how you relate. For example, when something good happens, how often do you thank Allah? So that's the type of question we need in here, right? So do you always thank Allah? Sometimes you don't. When somebody gives you a gift, how grateful are you? Right? So that's what we're doing now, and this is what's missing, unfortunately, from the Muslims, and this is what Dr. Abdullah is working on as well, is trying to look at this from an Islamic perspective as the foundation, and then we can bolt these characteristics and things on, because we have all this. The Mashayikh, to know yourself is to know your Lord. They use this idiom in English. We have this from the great scholars of the past. Have said this, but Muslims, unfortunately, like I said, have been very poor in the latter generations in codifying the knowledge, and we have it, but in systemizing it, putting into rules, putting into questions, putting into instructions, we've been poor at that, and that's what needs to happen. So
the obstacle is basically one being honest with this question. If you're not honest, you're not going to get the right results. So
this is it. There's no right one wrong here. It's you. And
self-assessment. Self-assessment.
Yeah, and that's the other problem with us Muslims. We tend to be to be honest, to be full of ourselves. We're very proud of ourselves and who we are. Everyone is, that we're blinded by our own faults. We're all amazing. And you have to get out of this mindset. We're not amazing. We all have weaknesses. We need to break this. Yeah, break through this layer and say, no, I have shortcomings. I need to develop. And we're shy of that, and that's why we need to be honest. And honesty is, ikhlas. To be honest with yourself, to be honest with Allah. When you do tawbah, you have to make that one of the conditions of tawbah is to promise yourself you're not going to do it again. But if you're kind of hiding, say, well, I'm just going to say it, but I'm going to go back to this action again, right? You're cheating yourself. You're not honest. So your tawbah is a jeopardy. It's not going to be accepted if you're not sincere. And you make a vow to your own self, so I'm not going to do this again. Right? So that's very important. Anything else, Ahmed?
That's basically that.
Good.
That's what I have to say.
Nice. Sisters, can we take some reflection from someone who's done the scoring and how accurate they found it?
I think the utility of this for me wasn't more so whether it was accurate or not, but just to discover which areas required improvement and development and which areas didn't. Because I think on some level, many of these things, for instance, social skills, empathy, tend to be higher for women than men. I'm sure the scores are much higher. But I think individual things like managing emotions, motivating oneself, I think it's more of a tool than an end.
No, absolutely. What it does though, my point was, sister, is that sometimes these tests, they confirm, the things that you know yourself, but you get this reassurance because it tells you, and it's an empirical research, based, and it says, oh, okay. Because you sometimes you know yourself. Some of us know ourselves much better than others, but it's good to have this confirmation. Like you said, absolutely, this is a self-development tool. This is what you're doing, you're reflecting and developing. Okay? Good. Anybody else from the sisters?
No, Alhamdulillah, we have done, and no doubt we are trying.
Okay, good. Because remember, this is very important. What I say, this is the first layer, okay, of understanding your own psychology, your own mindset, your own makeup of who you are. Because remember, you can have a person who learns the art of managing time, right? The person, he or she, is able to manage himself very productively and is very judicious when it comes to time management. But that does not mean that person has good manners and is of good character, and is able to deal with people well. See the difference? They're mastering at this second tier, which is the acquisition of skills, time management, decision making, team building, right? Very good. But that does not mean, because that person is very efficient, that person is very good at managing time, that person themselves are of good character and is able to deal with others well. Right? So if you don't correct this layer, I think some of these other secondary skills are not as useful, and they can actually work against you as a da'i or as a person who is going to convey the message of Islam. Because you think you're amazing, you know, I'm an amazing leader, team leader. Yeah, that maybe you produce results, but at the same time maybe it's made you arrogant, because you haven't realized these characteristics of being humble, being sincere, and relying on Allah and thanking Allah, that the success is not coming from you. It's from Allah. So that's why this first layer is, I think, is more fundamentally crucial. If you can't, if you're always saying, oh, I can't do this, I'm poor at managing my time, like what Sheikh said, this is what your reality will be. Because you've already put a limit, you've already disabled your mind to say, oh, I can't do it, I can't manage my time, I'm a poor time manager, you know, I don't have barakah in my time. You have to break that mindset to be able to change that. Then you can get to a stage where you start learning skills of how to take actions into managing your time effectively.
Yeah, it will be a great contribution if you get this in Islamic perspective. The question is very great contribution.
Absolutely.
And big dawah also.
Inshallah, I'm working on it. We're working on it with the haram for the youngsters, because, you know, remember, for you guys, alhamdulillah, we have come to a stage where it's almost late, very late, too late, right? Because a lot of things are fossilized. But if we start with those youngsters from the age of, let's say, 11, from the teens, 12, 13, and this adolescence period until 18, and if we can shape and give them these skills from an Islamic perspective and build this, you'll see this generation will come out much stronger and much more, versatile, and less vulnerable to attack, right? Because they'll have this solid layer of self-developmental skills. So that's what we're doing, inshallah. Make dua that it goes through.
So are you going to put this on the portal?
It's there.
This question is there, huh?
The link is there. Yeah.
Oh, these are interesting questions. It will help us evaluate our children also at this extent. And
Yeah,
when
but
you bring
listen,
something Islamic.
for the children's one, look, one of the brother mentioned to evaluate your, like I said, we're developing in Arabic, but we'll have it in English as well, self-assessment, the first layer of emotional intelligence, so we call it, Tatwir al-Dhat, self-development for the youngsters. So once that's ready in a couple of weeks, I'll be happy to share it with you guys, so you can do this with our youngsters to see where they are with themselves. How well do they know themselves? You know, when they get upset, how do they deal with it? Yeah, when they feel happy, what do they do? But that's the first layer. And then second layer, like I said, and that's from the Islamic point of view, is the relationship with Allah. How strong is this, and how do we deal with this? What is our relationship with Allah? How do we thank Him when a calamity comes? How do we deal with it? Okay? So inshallah, we're working on that. Definitely we'll share that. Brother Abdul Hakim.
Yes, sir.
Any inputs?
I got strength in all of them.
You got, sorry?
I got the level of strength in all of them.
Okay, mashallah, very good.
Yeah. And
What was your lowest score?
the lowest was 40 on managing emotions
Okay, good.
and empathy. Both I got 40. But the highest of the two sides, self-awareness and social skills. Yeah, self-awareness, I had 50, managing emotions 40, motivating oneself 44. That's our paper books of my father rahmatullah alayhi. And it's also the harakat of Quran in the haram is 44 too.
So, but look, we know we're all developing until we're always learning until we die.
Right.
And the areas where you mentioned 40, inshallah, for sure you can add some more skills and become, what I say, we're all mashallah good, but we want to go from good to great. Yeah? So no one is bad. Even with your kids, you should work on this positive psychology. Not to, you say you're good, Ahmed, you're very good. We want to become great. I want to say it's bad and then become good and then great. Yes.
Overall empathy, I feel, empathetic with the
This is the empathy one. This is very difficult, to deal with others, especially when it comes to emotional. It's not easy. It's very difficult.
The social skills, I am very sociable person. Yeah.
Okay. I think there's brother Abdullah wants to.
I have a question. Well, a statement. The Sheikh mentioned about the. How the Prophet ﷺ said, "Don't put yourself down."
Oh yes,
Don't put yourself down.
Yeah,
There's a concept in psychology. Well, I mentioned earlier that the Sheikh mentioned said, "Do not put yourself down." Right? But there is a concept in psychology called, I've been out of school for a while, it's called self-fulfilling prophecy. It's a concept actually. And in education, so this is why teachers, we encourage, we always say positive things to students, because if you tell them that you're ugly, you're dumb, this will have an impact on their psyche and they will ultimately live up to this. So this is a concept that the Prophet ﷺ dealt with 1400 years ago, that in recent times is called self-fulfilling prophecy. It's in behavioral psychology or something like that. And I just want to bring it up.
Yeah. No. And this, look, from that we have that same concept of having Allah says that same thing, having good husn dhan on Allah, having good impressions, of thinking positive, thinking good of Allah. And not to always think in a negative that He's going to punish me, to be, yes, of course you have to have this balance of hope and fear, the mixture, but to have, I think the asl is to have good of Allah, that He is Kareem, beyond Kareem. He is very, very generous, He is very merciful. And that is important.
Yeah. During the course of my studies in America, I involved with the community. So I didn't know that I was a chaplain without understanding. Assalamu alaikum. When I was a student, a PhD student in the United States, for 5 years, I was making the khutbah of Jum'ah and also mixing with the people, solving their problems. And we did, even we bought a graveyard and we bought also a church and changed it to a masjid. So we involved in so many activities, like Muslim chaplains, without understanding. We go to hospitals, for example, prisons, speak to the inmates, and also problems in the community with the police sometimes. We involved in so many things. So the things that we studying here, I had practical experience when I was a student in the United States. Alhamdulillah. And give da'wah also to so many non-Muslims, men and women, alhamdulillah.
Absolutely. Look, this year the emphasis on this course has been more so on this personal, social, emotional side. Why? Remember, in chaplaincy you're dealing with people, and not just people, but in critical conditions. Someone who's in jail. And that's a situation that is very, very sensitive. That person who's inside is in a very severe situation, his condition. Likewise, a person who is on the deathbed, Muslim or non-Muslim, is very critical, very sensitive. How what you say, what you utter, how you look at them, because they're very emotionally already fragile, unstable. So that's why on this we've emphasized in this year a little more on ramping up on these skills, and these are the skills that are difficult to actually acquire and change about yourself. Like I said, the other traits, time management, decision making, team building, these are easier. These are skills that can be acquired almost by pretty much anybody. I believe that, leaders are not born, this old philosophy, no. Leaders are made. Pretty much anyone can develop these. Allah has given us this capability to develop these skill set. But when you go this side, on this emotional side, not everybody can deal with it. Not everybody can develop and come to a level where they can handle emotions effectively. And here you're an ambassador. So either when you say something, you're going to bring this person closer to Islam, or you're going to move him away from Islam. And you'll be accountable. And may Allah protect us, because many people I've seen, by their behavior, by their body language, have actually moved people away from Islam instead of drawing them. And in Riyadh, many incidences I remember, unfortunately, where I was at university as a lecturer, and I had around maybe 200 non-Muslim teachers of English, let's say, and some of the behavior of the Muslims, very unfortunate. Those non-Muslims said, one of them said, I would never enter this religion. I never want to be like this person, because that person was actually a convert. It came to Islam, but unfortunately was with a set of people who were very harsh. And he said to me, I never want to be like this, and this is not Islam that I want to see and I want to be. And this is unfortunate. This is what may Allah protect us from this mannerism and behaviors.
Well, this is something we should develop as an individual. We always, we should be someone critical. We do not take the bad traces, like for example, there's a known scholar, famous, excellent, but he's not very social. He's very close. And sometimes for us in the West, it is a bit, it lets us down. So we should be critical and selective and choosing the good traces of someone and leave the bad. You don't have to completely copy. There are some students who are completely blind, follow their teacher. Chaplaincy is the one who mentioned this. While he was a student, there were some students, some of his colleagues, they would even copy the handwriting of the teacher, which was horrible. So this level of blind following is something horrible. So we should be able and critical enough to take the good traces and leave the bad. And we do not blame or associate it to any particular group, because there are some customs, for example, in Riyadh, in those regions, they are different, they are Bedouins. And even amongst the Saudis, they don't go well. The people from Hijaz, they're different. So we do not associate it to any particular ethnic group. We can say the same in England, the Pakistanis, the Bengalis, they're horrible. The way they treat the Muslims, the converts. We go to the mosque, they treat us like, hey brother, you can't do this in the mosque. We hate it anywhere we are. So we should maybe trace it back as a human behavior instead of associating it to any particular group or ethnic group or social group, and look at it as being critical and take the best of whatever you see on a person and leave the bad things. And not associated to religion, because we easily fall into this. The same stereotype the non-Muslim done about Islam, about these Muslims, is the same as we do in our soul with the people who are associated to the Sunnah, the people who are associated to certain aspects of the religion or Hadith. They're harsh by nature in some aspects. We're doing the same mistake. It's the individual, it's not the religion.
Yeah, but the methodology, but the point
who doesn't know how to
the point is, as the idiom in English, they say actions speak louder than words.
Yeah.
So sometimes you don't have a chance to actually engage with this person to tell them about Islam, but he looks at your beard, he looks at your thobe, and he says, that's a Muslim. And he judges you. That's why this layer of your character building and emotions has to be on point. It doesn't matter if you're an alim. You don't get the chance to interact with him, but he will take your first impression. You understand?
That is how Islam spread by the Sahaba. They went, they did business, people saw their business, the way of conducting business.
Absolutely. And we know in Indonesia, the most highest populated Muslim country in the world, was not conquered through the sword or anything. It was through the traders who went, the Muslims, to do business, and their akhlaq and their mu'amalat in doing the transaction was of a very high level, where these Indonesians said, what are these people holding that is so amazing, that makes them behave and do business in such a brilliant way. And that's what they took. They took the religion based on this behaviors and the mannerisms of those Muslims, the traders.
Actually, what the Sheikh wrote earlier in the lecture says, criticize the words of the person, but not to to criticize the person himself. Actually, I like what one of scholars said. He said, we hate kufr, but we don't hate the kafir, because the kafir can be a Muslim. So when we encounter such brothers who say, hey brother, don't do this here in the masjid, sit with him and try with love to get what he says. Okay, you're criticizing me not to do this. Okay, as a Muslim, I love you as my brother. There is nothing in our deen that tells us to do this. So, you're criticizing me for the sake of Allah, and I'm trying to answer you also for the sake of Allah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam or this companion did this or that. So with the dialogue, and then also when you said I hate this, I understand you that you hated what this brother said to you, but you don't hate the brother. You see what I mean?
Don't take it personal.
No, you're right, Brother Abdul Hakim. The premise we know in Islam is you don't hate the person, you hate the actions, the bad actions of that person. And what Brother Bilal mentioned, when you have a scholar or you have a model, you take from the khair of that person and you leave that which you don't agree with. But sometimes some people go a little bit far to criticize and to expose, and this is not again from the etiquettes of a Muslim to expose his brother. There's a way to give him advice in private, to publicly expose, because Allah, we know from the hadith, if you cover the sins of your brother, Allah will cover your sins on Qiyamah. So these are all important principles that really are to do with self-development, that you're personal. That's why I say we have to focus and we have to go back.
This is important. What we're doing, especially for us.
We have to look at this layer now of this self-development, get this correct. Like I said, those secondary other skills are useless, really, from my point of view. These are traits that many of the non-Muslims, the mushrikeen, they have. But these are no use unless you have this ta'sees, the foundation from an Islamic point of view, and as a Muslim, and your relationship is built, based on Allah, or the relationship with Allah.
There is a saying of Sayyidina Umar, may Allah be pleased with him. He said, may Allah give mercy to people who, Jazakallah khair. There is a saying of Sayyidina Umar, may Allah be pleased with him. He said, may Allah give mercy, رحم الله قوما أحيوا الخير بذكره ورحم الله أقواما أماتوا الشر بهجره. So Sayyidina Umar said, the translation to the best of my ability, said, may Allah give mercy to people who enlivened, caused goodness to prosper by mentioning it. And may Allah give mercy to people who abandoned evil, who caused evil to die out by abandoning it, not mentioning it. So, if there is good, talk about it and make it vivid. And if there is evil, abandon it, leave it, so it dies out.
Okay, so just wanted to say something. Let us not forget that people who are in the West, for many purposes, some people they are Muslim, they went for freedom, others, let's say, for the sake of their religion, and others for business, some for science, and over there really it's hard to bring all the Muslims together. So the good Muslim has a hard opportunity really to bring all these folks. And then what I want to say that always I have a child, Muhammad, now he's in the medical school. So okay, keep the company of the good people, and no one is Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Long subject.
Listen, take what is good, what is applicable to the Quran and Sharia, and leave what is not good. Don't follow them blindly. No one is Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the other point also, the psyche, he is sick, and people they ask his consultant. I think if first he find a cure for his sickness. So sometimes people go to the ulama, to the mashayikh, even they go to the magician. If those people, they are sick themselves. I don't know how they advise the people. If the people, they are not to that extent of ignorant, they leave Allah and Rasul and they go to the mashayikh. So I think going back to the resources, to the fountain, to Al-Quran and Al-Hadith, and giving ourselves opportunity to point to the good one, he's good, Allah increase his example. And if he's bad, Allah even or give him hidayah or let's get rid of him. So we need to be the smart Muslim need to be smart. We need to be wise. We need to use the Quran. We need to use the Sunnah, and let's say the rationale behind everything. This is what I wanted to say over 2-3 points.
Yeah. Okay, so inshallah I think we're done. We'll wrap it up. Just 2 reminders. Number one, if you didn't get a chance to complete the questionnaire for Dr. Abdullah on the different religions and sects, please do that. This will form a part of a very valuable output that will be produced as a guide for this part of the program, and to develop the program, inshallah. So it is important. Like we said, they have visions, inshallah, to turn this into a diploma, into a master's, to be run from the Kaliya of the Masjid Nabawi, and so this is important. And then next week we have again a very, very important subject leading on kind of from today, the fiqh of minorities, fiqh of aqalliyat. That's next week's lecture, and so please, that's important, please do attend, and inshallah keep up the good work and enjoy the holiday.
Okay, brothers and sisters, really, next week's topic belongs to Brother Muhammad Jabali, Sheikh Muhammad Jabali, Dr. Muhammad Jabali. So we need because look, what he left for us, it is a treasure. We are going to run this chaplaincy program forever because of his sincere effort academically and developing a curriculum for this program. So my humble advice, every time we make dua for him, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam يقول ليس منا من يموت ميتة الكلاب. This is not a Muslim if he dies like a dog. We need to leave something, and Brother Muhammad Jabali, he left many things behind. To the last breath, his sense and his everything was with Islam, was given to Islam. And he liked also to be in the city of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Allah honors him with that. So please just keep him in dua.
When did he pass away?
No. Just we need to make dua for him. Allah to prolong his life, to give more. That's why the dua from Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. اللهم أطل في عمره وأزد من عمله وأجره. So please make dua, keep him in your dua, inshallah. This is just a simple payback for his effort. He's going to Kaaba, to Umrah, writing the curriculum for the first program. And last year he finished a book of science for the Haram. Brother Yusuf also the same thing, they are working hard. And he has also a book for the physics department in our university. So mashallah, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he chooses from us, the best of us, and we need also to follow him as example. Follow, inshallah, just keep him in your dua. Sorry if I made the things lengthy, and reply to what he said, because we represent the Muslim minorities in the West. What Abdullah requested, please, it is urgent, you need to reply to it. And take care of cleanliness and leave the place nice and clean. Jazakumullah khairan. Assalamu alaikum.